ourselves look intelligent. He has analysed us and our surroundings and given us all a new appreciation of the meaning inscribed in text, making him an idol for anyone who wants to increase their dramatic capabilities or their knowledge of things that they will only ever use in 1 or 2 exams. Unless, of course, everyone becomes English teachers. Love of coffee constantly astounds us. She often claims that her skin is growing darker every year, not from sun exposure, but from the coffee colour seeping through her skin. During class, we often find someone is missing, but they are soon found making Mrs. Pyne a coffee. Her dedication and commitment to our hospitality group and the school is to be commended. She constantly gives up her spare time to prepare booklets for us, much to Mr. Nisbet's despair, and to organise functions for the school. Mrs. Pyne's devotion to us is immensely appreciated, and we thank her for giving up her time to help us prepare for and survive our HSC exams. Next up, we have Mr. McKay. There are few people that work harder than Mr. McKay. He inspires those around him, often through bribery and promises of coke, to study their hardest and to do their best. We commend Mr. Taylor on his efforts to control the 6 boys he has taught physics over the past 2 years. His calm demeanour may have been tested many times over this period due to the outgoing spirit and energy of the boys, who always need to be outside. Mr. Taylor's patience may have been pushed to the limits during the inertia experiments that took place during a class. He had provided the boys with good bowling balls, of which they just happened to smash. Mr. Taylor's constant effort in entertaining and teaching these 6 students has resulted in the boys' hard-working attitude when it came to assessments or exams, or at least some of them. While the course was difficult to comprehend at times, Mr. Taylor offered his spare time to the boys to help them in their studies. His understanding of his students has enabled him to gain respect and also new friends who appreciate his enormous efforts. Mr. Nisbet is my favourite teacher. Funny, loyal, and he has a dog aptly named Princess. He also supports one of the 2 best teams in the NRL and is a true supporter through and through, not only of his team but of his D&T and IT students. Nisbet always has a smile, a jingle, an encouraging word and a smart aleck comment about women in the woodwork room. He has watched over almost 20 projects and managed to ensure that his students, unlike Mrs. Graham, followed OH&S procedures and avoided chopping their fingers off. Commonly noted saying of Mr. Nisbet's are, packing up please, grab a broom, put your back into it, safety always comes first. Big things do come in small packages, don't they, Mr. Nisbet? Art classes with Mrs. Crowe were always such fun. Her easygoing personality and sense of humour brought enjoyment to the class of 3 dedicated students. Mrs. Crowe's love for her students was displayed through the frequent birthday parties she held for them during class, which made everyone jealous. Her devotion and commitment to this small group was revealed when she willingly stayed back after school so her students could finish their major works and start their portfolios. Mrs. Crow's willingness to help her students get the best marks possible is obvious. Her use of bribery through many birthday parties did the trick. She is a talented and wonderful lady and will be missed by all, especially the art class. Woo! What would we possibly do without Mr. Ellis? He is the main discipliner through our worship services, always telling us to face the front and to stop talking. He ensures that devotions are read during home care and is always willing to stop and have a chat with you around the playground. Mr. Ellis has been our home care teacher for the past 2 years and has fitted into his role quite comfortably. His sense of humour has often caused a raised eyebrow, not because the jokes are rude, but because many of us fail to understand. Mr. Ellis's commitment to our year group is evident, supporting us during the hard times of the year, like the cross-country event, while at the same time showing off his superiority and beating the fittest of us. Not that there is that many. His dedication towards us is greatly appreciated, and we thank him for his support. Funny times shared during a music trip to Sydney, or the Friday night games with the Onions. Classes sometimes started late. No one quite knows why. Possibly it was to help a child in need. Her consideration toward all is highly valued. Or maybe it was to avoid the mad rush for coffee at recess. Swerves is a respected teacher and dear friend to all of us who have grown to know her over the past 3 years. Our hockey teams have grown and benefited from her excellent coaching skills, and we have won many tight games against quality opposition. Her charming personality and her sense of humour have brought her an adoring fan club that will greatly miss her when she leaves. We wish her all the best and thank her for her friendship, her leadership, and all the cherished memories. If there was a logie for compassion, Mr. Richie would have to get it. Legal and modern history have led to many emotional breakdowns and encouraged us to think before we speak. Well, nearly all of us. For example, considering the origin of continents and concluding before thinking that Europe has no capital, apart from the letter E. Classes with Mr. Richie are like episodes of Home and Away. Never a dull moment, always packed with drama. He always offers advice like, get over it, compassion to those in need, nobody cares, and support, kill everybody but me. Mr. Ritchie's sense of humour leaves the class in fits of laughter, leading to instant memory triggers in important situations. His compassion for his students has left him with many newfound friends who remember the humorous anecdotes, as well as his willingness to teach and make time for students. This would be why the logie for compassion would go to Mr. Ritchie. Funny memories and Mr. Grady gel like great teams as well as our class. Mr. Grady is a highly valued member of our year group as well as a dear friend. He has encouraged us to do our best and participate in everything. He will be greatly missed by all of us and we wish him the best. Now let me put this one to you. Well, it's a proven fact. Everyone knows the secret to a good footy supporter is loyalty. For example, forfeiting 15 points in tipping to an injured Knights contingent. This fact would therefore prove that Mr. Veers is disloyal to his footy team, backing the Rabbits and Knights against his own team. This may sound stupid, but I'm going to say it anyway. In the 4 years that he has been our home care teacher, he has been loyal to us. He's listened to our constant whinging, laughed at our constant stupidity, and lost our basketball games. But most of all, he has been a constant friend and always there if we needed someone to talk to or share a laugh with. His laid-back personality has made him easy to get along with, as well as exposing us to a more relaxed learning environment for maths and business studies, even if learning at times did seem irrelevant. Thanks for everything, guys. You can claim this gift as tax deductible. Miss Clark has been our year coordinator for the past 4 years. She has selflessly looked after each and every one of us at some point in our journey, from ferals to a little less feral. Miss Clark has supervised 29 young adults and a big kid and an ever-loyal sidekick or lunch partner, Iris. How anyone besides his wife can tolerate his loud munching and eating etiquette, or lack thereof, we will never know. Always with a camera in hand and a kind word to say, Miss Clark has been a major influence in our lives as she took on the roles of home care teacher, year advisor, maths teacher, confidant, occasional authority ogre, clean-up patrol, shooter and friend. The epitome of organisation, Clarkie is the only woman we know who enjoys washing dishes. You're welcome to do our dishes anytime. Despite the fact that Mr. MacCallum has not taught many of us, he has had a profound influence on all of our lives.
We thought we'd better join in the theme for our speech because it is a beach party tonight, so we thought we should at least look like we're going to the beach for a short part of it. Before I start, I would like to read something from one of the teachers who couldn't be here. Dear Year 12, I'm very sorry I couldn't make it to your grand finale, but someone has to mark your exams. I keep overhearing remarks of, wow, this guy sure is a war nerd, or why would this student mention Braidwood, so I assume that your papers are here. Have a great night. Make it add to your memories, because from now on you are ex-school students. Like your teachers, you are now in the class of people who have to say, when I was at school, or more likely, it wasn't like that when I went to school. Soon small children will ask you what school was like in the olden days. What makes that both good and bad is that no matter what, you can't go back. For better or worse, the past is done with and you have to approach the future. No matter what the future holds, remember that character is more important than achievement, or that who you are is more important than what you do. God bless you all. It has been a pleasure knowing you, Mr. Richie. P.S. A couple of personal comments. I now know what a piece of creature looks like. Megan, where's Megan? By now Jess must be busting. Please clear the toilets. Josh, try to get Dad to buy the 72 Grange. You deserve the best after your HSC. Daryl, keep being a war nerd. I sometimes wonder how I will cope without Johnny's bullfed looking through my window at 3:19. And I still think the funniest thing that I have seen for a long, long time was Yentl kicking the ball into her own head after I told her not to kick it. For me, proof positive that there is a God and that just once he was on my side. That was from Mr. Richie, obviously with a great deal of memories and regret that he couldn't be here. What we'd like to say and make a short presentation to Year 12 is, on behalf of all of us, it takes more than one person to raise a child. It takes more than parents, it takes more than teachers, it takes more than a year coordinator to raise someone and get them to this point in the HSC. And we would like to, as a group, all three of us home care teachers, take the opportunity to recognise each of the Year 12 students and thank them, and just remind you of a few things about each of them. A few things I'd like to start with in general before we get on to the individuals. It was interesting taking over this group in Year 9. I had never met them really before that. I hadn't taught them in 7 and 8. And the first thing I noticed is that I couldn't find many girls in the group at all. It was basically they turned up and there was boys, and you had to really, really look hard to find the girls. And that hasn't changed. They seem to lose them, not gain them. In Tasmania, on Year 9, we had our first excursion. I learnt that you don't get much sleep with this group either. I learnt that boys can eat. Now, I sort of knew boys could eat because I have a brother and I have grown up with lots of cousins and whatnot, but these boys can eat. And eat. We learned also that there was some particular interesting sites in Tasmania, like some driving talents of individuals down there. That we came across on the bus. We learned, and I don't think the students know this yet, that there was some overnight mischief and misbehaviour on the boat that I do know about. And they think I don't. In Burrell Pines, it was basically the beach, and the beach, hence tonight's theme. We learned about the dead whale, obviously, but the thing that really impressed me the most at Burrell Pines is that almost everybody had a go at trying to surf. Now, that's part of tonight's theme as well. Almost everybody had a go at trying to surf, and that is amazing. It wasn't just one or two people who said, yeah, I'll take it on, I'll try it, I'll do it. Almost everybody, and that was amazing. This group is a real group of students who get in there and work together and want to do things together too, which is fantastic. In Sydney, again, it was the beach, and the beach. And everywhere we went, Miss Clark, can we please stop at the beach? No, not all the time. Yes, there was the incident at night time again in Sydney. This time it was with a light. But the thing that made me appreciate them in Sydney was we stayed in a PCYC and there were some young students there, probably only 10 or 12 years old, and they were there after school for their after school activities. And the language that they came out with and the attitude that they have made me really appreciate this group of students, because even the guys in our group were offended by what these little kids were saying, and I just thought that was amazing. So these guys, you guys are fantastic. And yes, we have had fights, arguments, exclusions from the common room, and it has happened. But the thing that I really enjoy, and Mr MacCallum has said it, is that you guys are a group and you get on well together, you can get on well together, and you do get on well together, and you do care for each other, which is fantastic. We would like to give you all something from us. And this time, as opposed to the Year 10 formal, where it was a different item of food, we've gone away from that this year. We figure food's been done. We'd like to give everyone the same thing this time. We'd like to give you all a brick. There's more to this brick than just a brick. First of all, well, we just look at the base. No, just look at the base. First of all, you have standing before you what I would say 3 very stupid people. Oh. When we took on being home care teachers and year coordinator for Year 12 last year, all 3 of us also decided to build houses out of bricks. And one even decided to build it himself. But basically, that was a pretty good job. So one of the things that this brick signifies for us is the fact that we want to give you a brick because we've spent the last year with bricks as well. So we want to give you a brick. But that's not just all of it. A brick is something strong. It's something you can use for a foundation. A brick is important. Think of the house, the 3 little pigs. The house with the bricks was the one that stood. The other 2 didn't. The brick is, and from us here, the brick stands for our faith and what we believe. It's strong and it is like a foundation. It's something we can base our life on. It's important and it's what keeps us going. We'd also like to add to the brick a surfboard. Yeah. We've designed little surfboards to sit on the top of the bricks for you for a couple of reasons. Number one, yes, because you did almost all try to surf when we went back to Year 10. So it's a reminder of those beach trips and of tonight. But also because we want you to take the surfboard out and think of it that you can enjoy life. You can enjoy life and the surfboard and have all that fun while basing it on the foundation and the strength of the brick that's underneath it. And as long as you make your decisions based on the strength of God and of your faith and the brick, then you can enjoy life and you can have a great time. We've also put on the surfboard the words of footprints. We think that it is something we want you to take away with you, that you are good job, that you are never alone, even when you think you might be. You're not. And God is there always with you, and we want you to take that away with you. The thing we'll ask you not to do when we give you your brick, we're actually giving it to you in a brown paper bag, not because we don't want you to see your brick, but because even though we painted them back on Sunday or Saturday, for some reason they're still wet.
Not very, but a little bit.
There's just a little bit that might just come off on your fingers. Not wet, but just has come off a bit of colour. So we'd like you to keep it in the bag and not on the white tablecloth, if that's okay. And when you take it home, it should be dry soon, we hope. But please don't put it on anything white for the moment, or even on your lap. You don't want to wreck your clothes either. So as we ask each of you to come up here, we will have something to say about you, and we'll ask you to come and accept your brick.
Are they real bricks? Or are they fake bricks?
I think they're real.
They're real.
They probably get extras from their house building project.
Richie. At first you really confused me. I never knew if it was Mr. Richie we were talking about or Blake. I had no idea. And sometimes I still don't. I hear the word Richie across the place and I think, is it Blake or is it Mr. Richie? And I have no idea who they're talking about. Boy, can he talk. Where are you, Blake? You know, I don't know when it was, whether it was year 11 or year 12, but somewhere I stopped believing him. For the first few stories, it's really, wow. And then after a while, it's really? And then you think, I don't think I'll believe this one either. And I never ever know whether to believe it or not, Blake. Blake came to us later on. Not with everyone else or most of the 18 who came earlier, and has been a great asset to the group. Blake, I've got to say, your smile, your cheerfulness, your stories, your enthusiasm, your stories. In the middle of class, more stories. Just keep going and going and going. And that has been fantastic. It's one of those, Blake's one of those people that you can just have in a room and who could talk to anybody and who could have a laugh with anybody. And it doesn't matter who you are. Blake, you are an amazing person. Thank you for joining our year group, even though it was late, and we really appreciate you.
The next one that I would like to comment on has already been introduced a little bit through Mr. Richie's stories. Daryl has been one of those guys who has been with us from the start. Daryl started with us when he was in Year 5. He's now done 8 years with us. So one of the original students at school, one of the original Year 5 students. Daryl's done a heap of work around the place in the wetlands over the years and probably been the one student who's been continually committed to that area. The one thing that Mr. Richie referred to about Daryl is that he's a history buff or a war nerd. And if Mr. Richie didn't know it, you're pretty sure that Daryl was likely to. And Daryl's been one of those guys who has just been an absolute pleasure to watch grow up and mature and grow into a responsible young bloke who you know is going to go out and do well in the world. So thank you, Daryl, and I'd like to come. Thank you.
Lauren Cozens is the most likely student to ever get up and sing a song at almost every event that we have, a school concert, often a worship. She's the one who gets up and sings. And it's really fantastic to hear Lauren sing because she has been given a really good gift by God, which she uses for God's glory, and that's even better. Lauren, the other great thing about Lauren is the fact that she, Mr. MacCallum talked before about how Year 12 don't have cliques in them, and if she did, she'd be the one, if Year 12 did, she'd be the one who'd move right amongst all the students. She gets on well with everybody, and everybody gets on well with her. And she possesses such great qualities like that. Probably her greatest quality is her laugh. Because once she gets going, there's no laugh like Lauren's. Lauren, come on up.
Luke Harvey. I've never known anyone who can bring a fridge full of lunch to school each day and have it finished before recess. And still then need more after that.
Yeah.
It is amazing how much you can put away, Luke. Absolutely amazing. But I understand too that when you're that fit, you can. Luke has been a fantastic person to have around. We appreciate Luke's ability to sit also and talk to anyone, get along well with anyone. His sense of fun and humour. Amazing sporting ability too, to be able to play basketball and all those other things that he does so well. To be able to cycle as well as he does and still be able to maintain what he has to with all that food that he eats. I don't know if I could get through my maths lessons without stories from Luke and Chris, honestly. Those voices that you two put on also are amazing. I don't know where they come from. And I don't know who started it, whether it was one of you two or one of the others, but I came into maths one day and it must have been a full double period of it. You could not imagine it. There was the start of these stories going around to each other and to all the other people in the class. This is how much they love each other. I love you like, and then off they went. A wheelbarrow loves dirt. A car loves petrol. And they just kept going and going and going. I honestly sat there in disbelief at how many they could come up with between, not just the two of them, but between all of them. The way they just kept going on with all these things they come up with. And I don't know who started that, guys, but I know Luke was one of them who was continuing on with it throughout the lesson. I've got to say that any class has benefited from having Luke's enthusiasm and sense of fun and smile in it, and we really appreciated you, Luke. Thanks.
The next person I would like to talk about is a person who I would talk about as being quiet but dependable. Not always making a lot of noise around the place, but if you wanted something done or you wanted to handle something, or just to be loyal in what was going on. This person I had a fair bit to do with in different interests through soccer, because I had working with the soccer team for all the years that I've been here so far. And he became a central part of that soccer team through and through, basically controlling a lot of the midfield and stuff, and that became Luke Dyson.
I see.
Brad Graham is famous for probably one thing with his partner in crime, and that is for playing cards. How many people understand what sort of cards he plays? I think it started off with Pokemon and probably progressed to Yu-Gi-Oh! But he plays cards at recess and lunch and whenever other spare time he gets. But Brad does more than that. He's a good runner. He's got some athletic ability in there. And probably from running after his younger brothers and sisters. And he's also very good. Not many people know that Brad is actually the cousin of Miss Clark up here. And and she's seen him in action, helping look after lots of the kids in his family as well when his parents aren't there. Brad also is really good at, he's one of the best practical people in Mrs. Payton's hospitality class, and is a whiz at cooking up things in the kitchen. Brad, come on up.
This young lady arrived in Year 10, and I must admit I was a little bit concerned at first, but she has proven me wrong. Hayley turned up, and I've got to say she came across as a little bit rough around the edges. But she has changed, and in the most fantastic way. I've got to say I am really, really proud of Hayley and where she's come from and how far she's come. She is a great person to be around. She loves the challenge of a discussion, which we've already heard in some other cases as well. She definitely has her head screwed on, and a lot of people in Year 12 would probably go and sit down to her for some advice. And That's something special that you've got there, Hayley. She's got a lot of experience and maturity and independence that she's learnt over the last couple of years, and that's going to get you a long way. Service-wise, Hayley has got people involved in the last year or so with the blood bank. And I've got to say, you really surprised me, Hayley, when you came to school one day and told me you were learning sign language too. The things that you do, I think you'll always surprise me, put it that way. And that's a good thing. The car is a legend of yours, but I hear it's gone now. Is that right? There's a new one? And it's better?
Yeah, George.
Okay, good. Because the legend of your car, I'm sure, will be gone for a long time. The other thing about Hayley, and this we would already know, Hayley, you speak your mind, and that's a fantastic thing. And I think it's also put you in a position where a lot of the time you've been the spokesperson for people in Year 12. And that's a good thing to be able to do too, to be able to clearly identify what needs to be said and how you can say it, and to try and say it well. And I think that that's a skill that you've learnt and that you're going to continue to learn, and that's amazing too. So thank you for coming to us, Hayley, here, and we've appreciated you as well.
And then went on about that and the V8 supercars and every other race that went on. And it's great that he's applying for a place doing that basic industry down in Albury, and it'd be great if he can get that. Other things, when I talk about Harrod, I'd have to say the guy loves life. You always see a smile on his face, he's always laughing, he's always mucking around, he's always having a great time. You never see him cranky. And he just, part of the surfboard on the top of the brick is the ability to just go through life and enjoy it. He's probably, mum and sister probably got a few different things about him being cranky. The other one that I'd like to compliment Harrod on, and the whole family, is they're tight. That's a family where I've never seen it probably as tight as that. If Rhys or Tegan get a result in a test, first thing they're doing is going out to the playground and finding the other one and telling them how they're going. They live for each other, they look after each other, and I think that's great. And that's a compliment to the whole family. So, Harrod, thank you. Up you come.
Nathan Hart is, like many of his friends, is an all-round sportsman and enjoys basketball particularly, and soccer as well. He often carries around a guitar. I'm never quite sure whether it's his guitar or whether it's a guitar he's borrowed of somebody. But and he'll strum it whenever he hasn't got anything else to be doing. And he's in a band, so he enjoys his music as well, and he's good with that. And in Year 7. Down the front row of the photo, here's the short midget along with MacCallum. Not like that anymore. Nathan, similar to Rhys, I guess, comes from a really supportive family. They're supportive of him, and he's really supportive of them. And that's a great thing to have, and it's something that will carry him well through life. Nathan, come on up.
This young man arrived in Year 7, along with most of the others here, and from Year 7 to 10 was almost inseparable with Nathan Hart. And the two of them did almost everything together, and now I think in Year 11 and 12 it's been almost 6 or 7 of them have wandered around doing everything together. Andrew MacCallum. Andrew is good at sport, and you could probably mention any sport. In fact, I'd like to know what you can't do. Andrew, where are you? What can't you play? What sport can't you play? Chess. There's a challenge for you then. Andrew can almost play any sport I've ever seen. He'll be out there no matter what game is going on, having a go, and I think that's amazing. And he's very good in almost all of them as well. He's a fantastic leader among his peers. He is someone who has grown. I would have said I was worried a little bit at first about him having to have his dad as the principal. for Andrew's sake, but he has grown out to be himself out of his dad's shadow, which he never really was in anyway, but has grown into a young man who is his own kind of leader, which is fantastic, who gets on well with everybody and who has his own style in relationships and leadership and is making his own way in the world. And Andrew, I think you've done a fantastic job as captain this year. It's been a pleasure to work with you and it's been fantastic having you here at school.
This next student was one who joined, so that as she worked her way through, by the time she made it to the end of Year 12, actually became fairly hard working across most of her subjects, which probably wasn't the case when she first turned up. One thing you've got to say about this one, and most of the kids will recognise this bit, cleaned up her lunchbox in any class. And then whoever was sitting next to her, usually Greg's in my class. So it was a matter of just cleaning up the food in class. It was more, I think, one of those things where if you were bored, you ate. But the other one I really do like about the way Letitia's really settled and grown into a wonderful young lady. So up you come, Letitia.
Jessica Liersch is involved. Jessica knows everything about everybody all the time, or at least part of the story, and which probably shows that she moves within the circles of the Year 12 group quite well. She's got a great love of music, and particularly the flute, and has sort of anchored the school band for a long time on concert nights and things like that. And she's done heaps of stuff for worship, the prayer box, singing, and then doing things up front, talking and organising things as well. She's got a great faith, which she shows through, and she's not just happy to accept the answers that her parents give her, or that her church gives her, or that other people give her. She wants to explore things and work things out for herself, and check what she believes against what other people believe, which is a great thing, to make sure she doesn't get sucked in by things that aren't right. Jessica, come on up.
Now, if any of you remember, at our last formal, we had fish. And we had goldfish that you were allowed to take home with you at the end of the night. Well, one of our students took 2 goldfish home and named them Adam, after her favourite cricketer, and Heather. And Adam and Heather are since dead. Who died first? I think it was Adam. Was it? Heather. Oh, Heather did, sorry. Okay. And it was a sad day because Megan has constantly kept us informed on how the fish were going every couple of days, which was great. And it was very sad when they died. I have appreciated Megan's love of cricket and being a huge fan of Adam Gilchrist because, as Megan soon found out, I taught at my last school with Glenn Gilchrist, Adam's brother. And so we have a common interest there in that we've been able to talk about the Gilchrist family, whether it be about sport or teaching or whatever, and enjoy the same interest. The other thing that I only just recently found out was the bathroom thing. I'm sorry, girls, I didn't even know about that one. But Megan, you've obviously been extremely dedicated to Jess, and that is a fantastic trait for you to have. That's just the start. Megan is dedicated to anyone. Megan is a fantastic friend. Megan has been someone who would support anyone in the year group. Megan, you're just a wonderful person to have here. And along with everybody else, you are your own person, but you show that in a lot of different ways to each person that is here in Year 12. And that's just wonderful. Thanks, Megan. Is home at the end of the night if you like.
having done Megan, it's probably only fair to do her other partner in crime. Jess has been with us for a full 6 years. Is it 6?
Yeah.
Yes. And, I mean, obviously, gone through many different trials along the way. Jess is one of those students who can make and change a classroom. It wasn't unusual to have Jess come in with these supposedly hypothetical stories about I've got a friend who's doing this, who needs help with that, and really it doesn't take long to figure out that it's talking about Jess or someone close to her or what's going on. Another one with Jess, she's devoted to her family. You've always got, if you're not hearing about Maddie or the others, you are seeing Maddie. And them, pardon?
Her name's Livy, not the others.
Oh, I can't remember. What's going to be Felix or something? Basil. All right. Other things about Jess I will remember. Again, her and Daniel loving both the passion in the way they put across their point of view, which often led to what I might call verbal spars. And those two love to have them in a healthy kind of way, of course. I think Jess's bathroom cleaning from Megan has been covered enough times. The other one I really want to touch on about Jess, though, is her change in maturity. Jess, between Year 10 and Year 12, probably did the biggest growth change that probably any of the Year 12s did. Jess has grown through to be a very mature young lady. She changed her work ethic in the way she did things in the school, in the way she approached her classwork, in the way she basically approached her life. And at different points she's talked about elements of that having to do with her accident and the different things that came out of that. But I have to compliment you, Jess, on the way that you have grown in that time and to the person you have grown into. And so thank you and congratulations.
Okay, what's next? That's the line that's often said by the President Bartlett on the West Wing series. And Daniel Murphy is a very big West Wing fan, as am I. So that's a good thing. You've often heard about his battles already with Jessica Liersch for that seat in maths, and also the battles he has with Hayley or Jessica or pretty much anybody else about their point of view and how that matches up with his point of view. And that's a healthy thing to be able to do, to be able to discuss your opinion with people and put forward good reasons for yours and to listen to what their reasons are. Daniel also got a big scholarship for Bond, which is really exciting for him and something that he was really after and should really serve him well. And so he's going up there to do his uni degrees. There's two of them up in Queensland. Interesting story. Daniel almost fell into the trap that a lot of Christians fall into. If you're a Christian, that Jesus' love for you is unconditional. And so what you do doesn't matter because Jesus has already done it for you. So you're tempted to think, oh, okay, well now I don't have to do anything. I could just sit around and do nothing. Daniel, when he got his scholarship, thought that for a couple of weeks. Hey, I could just sit around here and I've already got the scholarship. Then he got some things in the mail which had a little bit of fine print down the bottom. It is expected that the applicant will maintain their current grades and so on, during their HSC. And Daniel was out of bed within half an hour, dressed and back into study, trying to catch up on 3 weeks of doing nothing for. But Daniel doesn't do that in his Christian life. Daniel knows that God is very interested in the things that we do, even though he doesn't accept us because of those things. And Daniel makes sure that his life is full of things that Jesus wants him to be doing. So Daniel, come on up.
This next young lady, for the first time, joined us, I believe, on our Year 10 camp to get to know people. And it didn't take long. Coralie was, I suppose you could say, fresh blood to start with when you have someone new come into the group, especially when it's a girl in our year group. Girls, there were not many of. But Coralie came into our Year 10 camp, joined the camp, had a great time and got to know everyone very quickly because that's the kind of person she is. She's a friendly and outgoing and easy to talk to kind of person. Coralie has impressed me over the last few years with everything she's had to face. Her life experiences will exceed some of ours, and those have only been in the last 12 months. And we have so much respect for you as a person, Coralie, and what you've come through, and the way you have held yourself and carried yourself through with support of your family and friends at school and whoever else has been supporting you there. Along with us staff, we've tried to in whatever way we can. But I've got to say, it has been very impressive to see where you've come from and what you've come through, Coralie, and you can be very proud of yourself at this point. And yes, you've still got another few subjects to go, but we know you can do it. And it'll be great to see you here again next year, and to see you in the next 12 months take on captain as well, which you've already started to do, and you will do a wonderful job there as well. So, Coralie, thank you for joining us so far, and you're the only one here we're saying, and we'll love seeing you again around for the next 12 months as well.
They probably so much so that many of the teachers never quite know whether he's at school or not based on cars. I learned to read most of them after a little while. Other things that I would say about Josh, and I want to get this one right. I'd say Josh has a good knowledge of the world. Some kids you have going out who, when I'm saying a good knowledge of the world, I'm not saying he's worldly. I want to say Josh knows how the world operates. He knows how to work hard. He's got a good ethic about the way he does things. There are a lot of kids you send out there who you know, if they get a job, are not going to lose it because they just know how to work hard. They know how to appreciate a boss. They know what they're doing. Josh is one of those guys, if I was going to start a business, he'd probably be one of the first kids in Year 12 that I actually picked to work with me because of his ethic, because of the way he does things. He has that knowledge of just how the world operates in terms of a social atmosphere and an ethic like that. And that's not many people are picking that up as young as he does. And so in that regard, he's always going to do well. He's an easygoing kind of guy. Most people get on fairly well with Josh, and he's not likely to be stomping around too much. The other one that he did was he basically became a linchpin for our Aussie rules team. Probably being one of the few people who actually knew how to play the game, which made a big difference. But again, that showed his work ethic. Josh was one of these guys who, when he was on the field, was given 110% the whole time, and he was never going to be casually sitting up in a corner bludging or anything like that. So the other thing you have to say about Josh, he usually had a newspaper in his hand and was reading it. Just managed to find one with him everywhere he went. But congratulations, Josh.
Andrew Owen has got many interests. He's one of the leading lights in my software class, or was one of the leading lights in my software class, I guess now. I don't get to teach him anymore. He's very good at music. He and his almost identical twin brother are often playing music together in something or other, or certainly playing music together with accompanying somebody. And also good on drums. I haven't seen him on drums, but I hear good stories of that. Basketball. He was one of the people who really enjoyed basketball when it first got going and helped it to get going at the school. And then Liersch, Schuster as well. One of his other loves. And it's really good to see he and Liersch together when they sit out in the playground together and talk for endless hours. And they seem to have a really good relationship. Andrew, come on up.
The other half in my class of the Luke Harvey and Chris Pyne duo is Chris Pyne. Chris Pyne has And he scared me one day when he did it, I think, in front of a worship or something like that assembly. And me being the person who's keen on occupational health and safety as well, wasn't really impressed at the time because I was more worried about what was going to happen if he didn't manage the backflip. But that's impressive. Also, your ability to get yourself over that high jump is amazing. And I don't know if you knew, but while you were in Sydney at State Athletics, I was getting constant updates on what you had just jumped, text messages saying he's cleared this, he's cleared this, he's cleared this, and I was passing it on to people in school saying he's cleared this, because we were so keen to know how you were going. That was fantastic. Someone tells me you finally finished a D&T project. I'm not sure about much of the history on that, but they tell me you finished this one. Is that right, Mr. Nisbet? Fantastic. Well done, Chris. I've got to say, Chris has been, like Luke and several others, a fantastic person to teach, great sense of humour, a lot of good stories to tell, and obviously some good voices to tell them with, and certainly gets on well with anyone as well. And it's funny how almost everyone in that group you can say that about this Year 12 group. They can sit down and almost have a chat with absolutely anybody, and that's fantastic. Chris, thank you for all your input into this year group and into our classes, and all the best.
Changing entire towns and then trying to make friends and trying to do a year 11 and 12 at the same time has got to be a tough run. Greg made that very easy because he's just so easygoing. Nothing seems to faze him too much. Everything's fairly casual. Just a relaxed way about it. And I suppose the other thing I'd say about Greg is a really good sense of humour. The guy knows how to have fun, knows how to have good jokes and muck around as well. And I know enough about mucking around. So I like the way he settled in, but it's also been, again, another one, and I mean, you can really say it about everyone in Year 12, but Greg is another one who has matured over the last 2 years. He probably came to us kind of the Year 11 and 12, his mum's laughing. But Greg came to us as one of those guys who seemed to be on the other side. The Year 10 seemed to be young and silly, whereas on the Year 12 side seemed to be a little bit more grown up and looking to be people going out into the world. And Greg definitely made that transition. So thank you, Greg, and congratulations.
Joel Pendrick is another one of our students who's got a really supportive family, a family that he cares deeply about and is really close to, and they care a lot about him as well. And he's just lately made a bit of a name for himself just because he's been absent so much. We'll wait and see, I guess, in a month or so and see whether he's been studying in that time or whether he's been out doing other things. And it was also a bit late, regularly late before that. But he was one of the original basketballers. Obviously, you'll get to see why when he stands up here next to us. When the Crays started off at school. And one of the first ones to help you out. If you needed a hand, and he saw that you needed a hand, he'd help you. You wouldn't need to ask. He'd just jump in and help you out. He it was in my software and my IT classes when the start of Year 11, and then and took on a really challenging project in software, and it'd be good to see whether he wants to continue with that sort of thing later on after school. Joel, coming up.
I'm not sure how long ago. Captain along with Andrew for the last 12 months, and it has been an absolute privilege to work with her for that time as well. She has a strong faith, and her leadership skills have shown that in the things that she does. She's pretty good at organising me when I needed to be told, are we doing something, which was great because sometimes I'm a bit forgetful, especially when you get to my age. As these kids have now learned, that the interesting fact was, and this is what made me being their year advisor that more interesting, the year they were born is the year I did my HSC. So they quickly worked out exactly how old I was. Marie has been a wonderful person to have around for the time she's been here. and it's been more than the 6 years. And we have really appreciated her helpfulness, her ability to get on with absolutely everyone, and just everything that she does. Thanks, Marie.
Did a lot of things together, even did a lot of subjects together, but also played cards together, and became really much probably the gurus of the cards at school. And in that regard, did a lot of work and spent a lot of time encouraging a lot of the junior students as well. Other things you say about Keith. Anytime there was a hospitality event on, Keith seemed to be there. Keith seemed to be in there and helping Mrs. Payton out. And that was part of Keith's nature. Keith would never say he was a major academic, but he was one of those guys who would always be there to help you. If you had a pile of books to carry back at the end of class, Keith would be the one staying back saying, hey, can I give you a hand? And that's what Keith was about. And really makes up a lot of what's right, Keith. Thank you.
Ben Wealands is one of those kids who you reckon would handle just about anything, and you can imagine him doing really well in life just because he's got that nature. When I needed somebody during, when we were placing kids for information technology, I needed a kid who was going to go to Coolman. So they're going to have to jump in a car with someone who worked there that I didn't know. They're going to be half an hour away if anything went wrong at the place where he was working, and they're going to be out on the road helping people. So he needed to be someone who actually knew what he was doing, and so he could handle himself talking to a variety of people. And the first person I chose out of the class of 17 that I had was Ben. And that's just the type of kid he is. It's a kid who can handle himself, who'll do really well in the real world, knows how to get on with people, and knows how to get things done. Dependable is a word that describes him. I'm not quite sure what was going on with his DT project, the birdhouse, but that was obviously something he thought was important at the time. Ben, coming up.
I didn't realise just how talented a musician Brendan was until they had to start rehearsing and preparing for their HSC performances. Because then the guitar appeared in every maths lesson. He came back. But believe me, Brendan still did his maths, but in between while he was thinking, he was practising. Nice and quietly though, but he was practising, and it's been an absolute pleasure to hear Brendan's expertise. Brendan also has a fair bit of expertise in hospitality, and it was Brendan's wonderful assistance that helped decide on the menu items for tonight, because when we came down to choosing, I know there were 4 on the panel, but Brendan knew exactly what every one of those items was, and if we weren't sure, he explained it to us. So he helped us in a pretty big way get the menu right for tonight, by even if it was just explaining what was going with what in each of the menu items. Thanks for that, Brendan. For a few seconds in year 10, no, actually, that reminds me of this story. Brendan actually went adrift on our trip to when he went surfing, I think. Is that right, Mr. MacCallum?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were a bit worried about you for a second there, Brendan, but no, you were fine. Mr. MacCallum went out there and helped you back and all that kind of thing. That was fantastic. Brendan, thank you for all the contributions you've made, for your amazing music ability, and for your hospitality knowledge and expertise and everything you've learnt, for your ability to fit in with everyone, get on with everyone, and like everyone else, your easygoing nature. It's just been wonderful. Thanks.
The next one I want to talk about is the Yank in Year 12. Schuster. I mentioned it, I'm sure, at Year 10, but it really was a turning point in what happened with Lucas. In Year 9, they went to Tasmania, and Lucas basically changed overnight. He came to us as a quiet little boy, almost a bit shy, and didn't even know him kind of thing, and barely knew he existed kind of thing. And then he went to Tasmania, and he basically jumped out of his skin and became a new person. He became the life of the party. He became confident. He became strong in what he was doing. Lucas is one of those guys who not afraid to try something or do something different. If there's going to be some clown in Year 12 who's going to do something different with his hair or whatever it is, Lucas is going to be the guy who's going to be doing it. He's not going to be informed by what the rest of the world is doing. Lucas was one actually going back to Tasmania. He was the one who bleached his hair. I ended up bleaching it with him. We had one night where we sat there and both of us got our hair bleached. Killed all the clothes that I had on because the bleach got through them all. I didn't know what I was doing. Other things that Lucas has done. I think he led the assault on the hill with the couch. Where they, those of you who don't know, put a set of skateboard wheels under the couch, and the parents probably prefer not to know. Other things with Lucas. Again, another guy who was big in the hospitality area. He got down there, he helped, he was around at just about every catering thing, and was a great help there. Guy of many skills. Music became another one where a whole stack of different things, HSC performances, probably key in putting together the band that runs amongst some of the Year 12s and a few others. So, a guy of many talents. The other one I'd like to say about Lucas, he knows where his faith sits and he's proud of it and not afraid to stand up for it. And if there's an argument or a discussion, Lucas is not going to be quiet and be pushed around and be told what something else is doing. He's going to be happy to be proud of what his faith is, stand up and say his bit. And it takes a lot to be a teenager and not compromise your faith when the world around you is telling you a lot of times you should be. And that's evident in so many of the boys in this year group. So congratulations, Lucas.
Will Tabor's not here, but I'm going to say a couple of words about him anyway. Will is a giant. He's a big man, and but a gentle giant. And he's quiet, but when he does get talking, he will talk, and he'll tell lots of stories. And I guess a bit like Blake, sometimes you're not quite sure where the stories are coming from. I talked to Will last week, and he just finished bringing in some hay, which they then had to dry out because it got rained on and so on. And you could tell that he was really involved.
Her ability to put down anything and go and help someone or do something for someone else. Sarah also impressed me this last year. She took on in Year 11, took on the job of going to visit another home care class in Year 5 or 6, I think it was, and to visit them regularly once a week and have home care time with them. And then this year, when she didn't have to do it, she came up and said, "Can I keep doing it for the year?" And not just the asking that she could do it or the wanting to do it, but the relationship that she has developed and maintained and fostered with those students in middle school has been amazing. And that's just one example of Sarah and her, not just loyalty, but her commitment to the school and other people within the school and younger people within the school. And Sarah, I think it's amazing. Your service not only extends to there, but in the canteen and everywhere else, that you've put your hand up and said, "I'll do something," or "I'll do it," and done it willingly. And thank you so much for being part of that throughout, however, 6, 7, 8 years. It's been amazing. And it's been all because of your strong faith underneath. And that's the heart that you have for it. And I think that's amazing. So thanks, Sarah.
Oh, no.
It's significant that this person
Not working. Sorry.
Batteries.
Let's see how we go. Alrighty. It's not insignificant that this person is last. John I actually deliberately saved till last. It's funny, as I look at it, he's actually last in the year group alphabetically. But I remember John came up to me just before the Year 12 final assembly, and he said to me, "Oh, there's only two things they can say about me." And one of them they mentioned at the Year 12 final assembly where he smacked his head with a football. The second one tells a lot about who John is. John came back to school. I'm not sure if it was a weekend or after school or after hours, but it was definitely after hours of some sort. And he wanted to come pick up an assignment, and he couldn't find anyone around the place. And he wandered over to the classroom where he knew it was, and could see his assignment. Just his assignment. And the window happened to be unlocked. So John, thinking he's not going to touch anything, you just reach in there and grab that. Not going to touch the alarms, not going to harm anything. Tried it. Reached in, it only took his paws to get just inside the window and the alarms went off. And he sat there for 15 minutes and, basically got his assignment out. He sat there for 15 minutes until the alarm company came round or whatever it was, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I don't know what it was. And
20.
And sat there and explained exactly what he was doing there, why he was doing it, what situation it was and all that kind of stuff. It could have been, or would have been, really easy for John to just go, all right, shut the window, just go and get out of here, right? And no one would have known any better. John is trucks. He's trucks and more trucks. I was actually a little bit disappointed probably, John, that you didn't turn up in one tonight. And it's not insignificant that John has already landed himself a job. He's probably the first one who's finished Year 12 and landed himself a full-time job, got an apprenticeship at Wagga Motors truck department, working there, and that's really been John's passion. Since the day I've known him, he's always wanted to work on trucks. He's always talking about getting a lift with some bloke up to Sydney in a truck, being able to help him out and everything like that. John also was probably, along with another, when I talked about Josh before, the bloke you knew was going to land on his feet. John just has that commitment to work, a good work ethic, the way he approaches stuff. I mean, even significant things like, I don't think there would be anyone in Year 12, in the staff, probably in the school, who could say a bad word about John. If you looked on every student, you could probably find one bad thing. John becomes the kind of bloke that you're probably going to be flat out to find a bad thing. Just an all-round nice guy. Everyone loves him, gets on well with everyone, and always going to do well in life. The other one, no, I might leave it at that because I think that covers most of what you are, John.
As we come to the end of giving our bricks out to Year 12, we do hope you find a place to keep your brick where you won't stub your toe on it. We'd like to thank you all, Year 12, for being such a wonderful group of people and such great individuals. We all wish you God's richest blessings on everything that you do and in all that happens to you from here and as you leave school and start the next stage. So we'd like to leave you with that. We'd like to ask the 3 students who have been here the longest, since Year 5, I believe, is that Daniel, Sarah and Daryl, if they would come and cut the cake for us, please.